In the summer of 1925, on a farm road outside Wichita, Kansas, a family sat down to supper in a dining room that was 15 degrees cooler than the air outside. No fan, no machine, no electric bill. The house was doing the cooling, the same way it had every July for 20 years. 30 years later, in 1955, America started killing that house. Not with a wrecking ball, with a catalogue. And this month, when your air conditioning bill lands, the average American family will pay around $800 for cooling this summer. You are looking at the receipt for what we gave up, because here's what almost nobody under 70 knows. The old American house wasn't just built with cooling features, it was a cooling system. Half a dozen designs working together, and one of them mattered more than all the others combined. It's the one feature that turned a hot box into a machine that pumped its own air, and when builders dropped it, the whole system died. Most people have never even heard its name. I'll show you exactly what it was and what it still does in the houses that kept it a little later, because you need to see the rest of the system first to understand why it worked. Now, the honest part before we start. This channel doesn't sell miracles. A 1925 house in Kansas is not a 1925 house in Houston. Passive cooling works with your climate, and it works better in dry heat than in swamp humidity. And none of this makes a house colder than a modern air conditioning set to 68 degrees. What it did, and what the parts you can restore still do, is cut the heat load so far that families lived comfortably through Kansas summers on 0 watts. And what is left of these designs can cut serious money off the bill you are paying right now. That's the honest promise. Reduce the load, not magic. So let's walk through the machine, the way a 1925 builder would have walked you through it, and then I'll show you the exact year and the exact decision that killed it. Start outside before you even touch the house, because the old builders fought the sun at the property line, not at the thermostat. The first thing a builder did in 1925 was turn the house. Long walls facing north and south. Short walls east and west, because the brutal sun is the low morning and evening sun, and the less wall you show it, the less your house bakes. That single free decision, which way the house points, changed indoor temperatures for the next 100 years. Builders called it sitting, and it cost nothing. Then came the porch. We think of the deep wraparound porch as decoration, a place for a rocking chair. It was heat engineering. A porch 8 to 10 feet deep keeps summer sun off the south and west walls and windows entirely. The wall behind a shaded porch can run 20 to 30 degrees cooler to the touch than the same wall in full sun. But here's the clever part, and this is where the old builders were smarter than we give them credit for. The porch roof was set at a height where the high summer sun was blocked, but the low winter sun slid right in underneath and warmed the same rooms in January. One structure, summer shade, winter heat. That's not nostalgia, that's geometry. Same story with the roof itself. Wide eaves, 2 to 3 feet of overhang, did for the upstairs what the porch did for the downstairs. And the wide eaves shaded the walls, and shaded walls stay dry, which, if you saw our black mold video, you already know solves a second problem for free. Then the trees. Not decoration either. Big deciduous trees, oaks and maples planted on the south and west. Full leaf in July, the house sits in a pool of shade. Bare branches in January, the sun pours through. The Department of Energy still publishes numbers on this today. Well-placed shade trees cut cooling costs measurably, and the old farm families knew it without a study. They planted their air conditioning 20 years before they needed it. And the awnings. Look at any photograph of an American Main Street or farmhouse from the 20s and 30s. Striped canvas awnings over every south-facing window. They weren't decoration. Glass is the hole in your house's armor. Sun through a window heats a room faster than sun on any wall. A simple exterior awning stops that heat before it touches the glass, which is why it beats any curtain or blind on the inside. Once the sun is through the window, you've already lost. And awnings all but disappeared after the 50s. Not because they stopped working, because something else showed up that made everyone stop caring. We're getting to that something. But first, the part of the system that most people find hardest to believe, because shading the house only stops heat from getting in. The old house could do something your house can't. It could throw heat out, without a single moving part you'd recognize. And this is where the feature I mentioned at the start, the one that mattered more than everything else, starts to come into the picture. Step inside the 1925 house and look up. The ceilings are 9, 10, sometimes 11 feet. That's not showing off. Heat rises, every degree of the day's warmth stratifies, and in a tall room it stacks up there, above the people. In your modern 8-foot room, that same heat sits at head height. The old ceiling wasn't luxury, it was a heat shelf. Now the windows, the old double-hung window, 2 sashes, both movable, is a machine almost nobody under 50 knows how to operate anymore. Watch. Drop the top sash a few inches, the hot air stacked at the ceiling spills out over it. Raise the bottom sash a few inches, cooler outside air feeds in low. 1 window, 2 openings, and you've built a circular current, cool in at your ankles, hot out above your head with 0 electricity. Now do that on the shaded north side of the house and again on the sunny south side, and the temperature difference itself drives air through the whole floor. Builders placed windows opposite each other on purpose. They called it cross ventilation, and every room in a good 1925 house had 2 exposures for exactly this reason. Above the bedroom doors there was a little hinged window, the transom. Kids today see them in old hotels and think they're decoration. They were the hallway's lungs. They let the breeze cross the whole house, even with every door shut for privacy. Air moved through the building the way water moves through a creek bed, always finding the path, because the builder had drawn the path. And then there's the discipline, the part that wasn't wood or glass at all. The old families ran the house like a ship's crew. At night, when the outside air dropped, the house was thrown open. Every sash, every transom, and the cool night air flushed the day's heat out of the walls and floors. Then at dawn, everything closed. Shades down, sashes shut, and the house held that captured coolness like a thermos deep into the afternoon. Open at night, seal at dawn. Farm families did it as automatically as feeding the animals, and the thick plaster walls and heavy timber gave the coolness somewhere to soak in and hold. Notice something about everything I've shown you so far: the porch, the eaves, the trees, the tall ceilings, the double hungs, the transoms, the night flush. Every piece is passive. Air drifts, heat sneaks, it all helps, and together it's already a real system. But drifting air was never the whole story, because the best of these houses didn't wait for a breeze. They made their own. There was one feature, one piece of design that took all of this from a pleasant house to 15 degrees cooler at supper in a Kansas July. It's the feature I promised you at the start. It's the one builders killed first. And to understand why it worked and why losing it broke everything else, you need to see what happened in 1955. Here's the most important 2 minutes of this video. In 1953, American factories shipped over 1 million window air conditioners in a single year, for the first time ever. By 1955, the price had fallen to where a working family could buy cold air on an installment plan. And that changed one thing that changed everything. For the first time in human history, a badly designed house was no longer a problem you had to solve with design. You could solve it with a plug. And the builders of the post-war boom, the men throwing up thousands of identical tract houses a month outside every American city, did the math instantly. Orientation, costs, planning time, skip it, face every house the street. Deep porches, lumber and labor, shrink them to a stoop. Wide eaves, trim them to nothing. Tall ceilings, that's wasted material, drop them to 8 feet. Transoms, double-hung discipline, cross-vented floor plans. The buyer has an air conditioner now. Delete, delete, delete. I want to be fair here, because this channel doesn't do villains in smoke-filled rooms. Nobody conspired. Builders weren't evil, they were building fast, affordable homes for millions of families who desperately needed them. and cheap cooling made the shortcuts invisible. The self-cooling house wasn't murdered in secret. It was killed in the open, one line item at a time, because a machine made its genius look unnecessary. But here's what the line items added up to. Your house, if it was built after about 1960, was designed on the assumption that the air conditioner would always be running. That's why it bakes within an hour of a power cut. The design dependency is real, and every July you pay the subscription. And the very first thing those builders deleted, before the porches, before the ceilings, was the feature that made the whole old system actually work. Time to show you the engine. The one feature that mattered more than all the others wasn't on the walls, and it wasn't on the porch. It was over your head. The old house's engine was its attic, and the way air was allowed to move through it. Here's the physics, and it's beautiful because it runs on nothing. Hot air rises. That's the stack effect. A 1925 house was built as a chimney for heat. High gable vents, ridge openings, sometimes a cupola or a belvedere on the roof, and open pathways from the living space up. As the sun cooked the roof, the attic air heated and poured out those high vents, and that rising column pulled. It dragged air up from the rooms below, which dragged cooler, shaded air in through the low north side windows and the porch shaded openings. The house wasn't waiting for wind. The sun itself was running the pump. The hotter the day, the harder the engine pulled. That's how you get a Kansas dining room 15 degrees cooler at supper. Shade stopped the heat coming in, mass soaked up what got through, and the attic stack continuously threw the rest out the top all day on 0 watts, using the sun's own heat as the fuel. The worst thing about summer, the blazing roof was harnessed to power the cure. Some houses added the one electric upgrade that honored the old system instead of replacing it: the whole house fan. One big slow fan in the attic floor that supercharged the same stack. Flip it on at night with the windows cracked and it flushed the day's heat out of the building in 20 minutes for pennies. Ask anyone over 70 about the sound of the attic fan on a summer night. That low hum was the sound of a house cooling itself for the price of a light bulb. And now you know why deleting the attic pathways broke everything else. Builders sealed the attic into a dead, unvented oven, and without the engine, the tall ceilings were just empty space. The double hungs were just windows. The night flush had no pump behind it. The system didn't fail. It was disassembled, starting with the part nobody could see from the curb. Today, that sealed attic hits 140, 150 degrees over your bedroom every afternoon, radiating heat down into your house, the exact opposite of what it did in 1925. The engine didn't just get removed, it got reversed. So that's the machine they buried. Shade at the property line, geometry on the porch, a heat shelf in the ceilings, lungs in the windows and transoms, discipline at dawn and dusk, thermal mass in the walls, and the attic stack running the whole thing off sunlight. Which leaves the only question that actually matters for you. How much of that engine can you get back in a sealed 2026 house without a renovation? More than you'd think. Let me show you what's restorable, what it costs, and where the honest limits are. What you can take back cheapest first. The night flush costs nothing and starts tonight if your climate cools off after dark and your neighborhood allows open windows. Open high and low windows on opposite sides when the outside temperature drops below the inside temperature. A cheap box fan blowing out of one upstairs window turns your whole house into a weak attic stack. Seal everything at dawn, shades down on the sun side. In dry summer climates, this alone can carry the morning for free. Exterior shade is the biggest bang per dollar. An awning or even a shade sail over your worst west-facing window stops heat before the glass, remember? Inside curtains are already too late. A young shade tree on the southwest corner is the cheapest air conditioning you'll ever buy. It just pays you in 5 years instead of 5 minutes. The attic is the big one, and it's where the old engine can genuinely be rebuilt. If your soffit and ridge vents are blocked or missing, very common, restoring that airflow drops attic temperatures substantially. And every degree up there is heat that stops radiating down into your bedroom. A whole house fan is still sold, still cheap to run, and in dry climates it's the closest thing to resurrecting the 1925 system inside a modern shell. And if you saw our white roof video, you already know what reflective roofing does on top of this. Now the honest limits, because they're real. If you live in Gulf humid air, night flushing brings in moisture along with coolness. In swamp humidity, the old system was always weaker, and your dehumidifying air conditioning genuinely earns its keep. The goal there is cutting its workload, not replacing it. If anyone in the house has security or allergy constraints, open window strategies have real costs. Whole house fans need a properly vented attic and honest installation. Done wrong, they pull conditioned air out or backdraft combustion appliances so that one's worth a professional opinion. And none of this exempts you from your climate. Passive cooling shaves the load everywhere, but it carried whole houses only where nights cool down. That's the truth, and the old builders knew it too. The Deep South built differently than Kansas for exactly that reason. The point isn't to unplug your air conditioning tomorrow. It's that every piece of the old engine you restore is a permanent pay cut to that bill on your table. Step back and look at what we just walked through, because there's one thread tying it all together. The 1925 house won by working with the physics, the sun's angles, rising heat, night air, heavy walls, instead of fighting them with electricity. That's the whole philosophy this channel exists to dig back up. If you want this entire system written down for your own house, the shade angles, the night flush protocol, thermal mass, white roofs, all 28 of the old methods with real costs and honest expectations for your climate, that's exactly what I've put together in the Passive Cooling Vault at oldwaysrestored.com. It's the whole honest system in one book: what works, what it costs, and what to do on the very hottest days. No miracle gadgets, the same physics the 1925 builders used, written down so you can restore it one weekend at a time. Links in the description. And even if you never visit oldwaysrestored.com, you now know something most homeowners don't. Your house isn't badly built. It's built for a different deal. A deal where the machine always runs and the bill always comes. Every awning, every open sash at midnight, every attic vent you clear is you renegotiating that deal. So this week, stand across the street from your house at 3 in the afternoon and just look. Where does the sun hit glass? Where could shade go? Then go feel your attic hatch with the back of your hand. That's your house telling you exactly where its old engine used to be. And if you want to see the most extreme version of working with the physics, the one design that pulls 55-degree cold straight out of the ground under your yard for about $300, watch the Earth Tube video next. It's the same philosophy, taken all the way down. It's right here on your screen. The old houses weren't primitive, they were paid off. Let's get yours a little closer.